worry is something that touches every life. No matter your age, your background, or your belief, there are moments when anxiety creeps in and begins to weigh heavily on the heart. People worry about their health, about their future, about finances, relationships, their children, their past mistakes, and their uncertain tomorrow. But the truth is, worry does not solve anything. It doesn't change the outcome, and it certainly doesn't bring peace. In fact, it does the opposite. It drains your strength, clouds your mind, and distances you from the very source of help you need, God. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus himself asked, "Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life?" It's a rhetorical question with a powerful message. The answer is no. Worry doesn't lengthen your life. If anything, it shortens it. It doesn't lift your spirit. It presses it down. It doesn't give you control. It exposes how little control you really have. And yet we cling to worry as if by doing so we're somehow managing our problems. But what we're really doing is carrying a load we were never meant to bear. God never intended for his children to live in fear. He created us for relationship, for peace, for trust. When we worry, we are saying with our heart, even if not with our lips, that we don't fully trust God to take care of us. We're trying to take the driver's seat when only he knows the way. This is not to shame anyone for worrying, because we're all human and we all struggle. But it is a call to shift our focus, to lift our eyes upward and remember who holds our tomorrow. The Bible is filled with encouragement not to fear. Do not be anxious about anything. Paul writes in Philippians, "But in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Notice the contrast, anxiety versus prayer. When you pray, you're turning your heart toward heaven. You're saying, "Lord, I don't have the answers, but I know you do." Prayer is an act of surrender, and in that surrender there is peace. You see, peace doesn't come from everything going right in your life. It comes from knowing that even if everything goes wrong, God is still on the throne. Worry is often rooted in the need for control. We want to fix things, manage outcomes, protect ourselves from pain. But life doesn't work that way. There are too many variables, too many unknowns, and that's why God invites us to place our trust in him. He sees the beginning from the end. He knows the hidden things, the motives, the circumstances, the outcomes. And more than that, he loves you. He is not some distant deity removed from your struggle. He is a father near to the brokenhearted, intimately acquainted with your every need. Some people think that worry is just part of being responsible. They confuse concern with anxiety, but there is a difference. Concern leads you to act in wisdom. Worry leads you to freeze in fear. Concern draws you to prayer and preparation. Worry pulls you away from peace and paralyzes your spirit. The Lord never calls us to ignore reality, but he does call us to trust him within it. Trust is not blindness. It's confidence in the one who is never blind to your needs. If we really believe that God is sovereign, that he is good, and that he works all things together for the good of those who love him, then worry loses its grip. Because no matter what comes, no matter how dark the valley or how uncertain the road ahead, you are not walking alone. There is no circumstance that can come against you that is bigger than the God who walks beside you. Jesus did not come into this world just to teach us good morals or perform miracles for crowds to marvel at. He came to take upon himself the burdens we were never meant to carry. On that cross, he bore the weight of every sin, every sorrow, every fear, and every anxiety that would ever trouble the human heart. When he stretched out his arms and declared, "It is finished," he was not only speaking of the fulfillment of prophecy, but of the burden being lifted from your soul. He carried your pain, your failures, your worries, and every heavy load you could never lift on your own. Many people live as though Jesus only forgives sin, but they continue to carry their own emotional weights, their fear of the future, their guilt over the past, and their confusion in the present. But Jesus did not just come to forgive you, He came to free you. He invites you to come to Him weary and burdened, and He promises to give you rest. This is not a rest the world can give. It is not temporary relief. It is a deep, soul-level peace that can exist even in the middle of the storm. When we hold on to our burdens, we are acting as if the cross was not enough. But Christ paid the full price. He took it all. He became the substitute not only for your punishment, but for your pain. Every sleepless night, every racing thought, every heavy heart. He understands it, and He carried it. The cross is not just a place of salvation, it is a place of surrender. When you lay down your burdens at His feet, you are not giving up. You are handing over what He already took upon Himself out of love for you. Peace is something the world tries to manufacture, but only God can truly provide. Many people believe peace comes from having everything under control, from organizing life so perfectly that nothing can go wrong. But life has a way of disrupting even our best plans. We chase financial security, stable relationships, perfect health, or the next achievement, thinking that if we can just hold it all together, we'll finally feel at ease. But peace doesn't come from control. It comes from trust in the one who is in control. God never asked us to understand everything. He asked us to trust Him through everything. The book of Proverbs tells us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding." Our own understanding is limited. It's shaped by emotion, perspective, fear, and past experiences. But God's understanding is infinite, perfect, and complete. He sees the full picture while we only see a corner of the canvas. When we insist on control, we're placing ourselves in a position we were never designed to hold. Control creates pressure, but trust releases it. Trust says, "I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow." It's the letting go that opens the door for peace to enter in. You can't have both control and peace. One must be surrendered for the other to reign. God has a plan that often looks different than our own, but it's always better. Sometimes we don't see it until much later, but His hand is steady and His heart is good. When you stop striving to manage every outcome and instead begin to rest in the promises of God, a new kind of strength rises within you. A calm assurance begins to take root, not because circumstances are easy, but because your heart is anchored in Him. The Scripture says in 1 Peter 5:7, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." This is not a suggestion, it's an invitation, a personal call from the heart of God to yours. He is not distant, cold, or uninterested in the details of your life. He is a caring Father who knows every thought that troubles you, every worry that steals your sleep, and every fear that grips your heart. When He says cast, He means throw it, release it completely, without holding back or clinging to any part of it. That's the kind of surrender He desires, not because He wants to take over your life, but because He wants to give you freedom from the things that weigh you down. God's care is not partial. He doesn't just care when the problem is big enough or urgent enough. He cares about the little things too. The things you're afraid to say out loud, the burdens you carry in silence, the questions that remain unanswered in your heart. He knows them all and still invites you to cast them upon Him. There is no burden too heavy and no detail too small for His loving attention. You don't have to have the right words, you don't have to pretend you're strong, and you don't need to wait until you've figured it all out. This kind of divine care is not found anywhere else. The world tells you to be strong, to push through, to depend on yourself, but God says, "Let me carry it." The hands that formed the universe are the same hands reaching for your burden. He knows what you're going through, and He wants you to trust Him enough to let it go. You were never meant to carry what only He can hold. The secret to freedom from worry is not found in more effort, more planning, or more control. It is found in complete surrender to Christ. Surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. It means recognizing that you were never meant to carry the weight of life on your own. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That invitation is not just for a moment of peace, it's a way of life. It's a daily decision to lay everything down at His feet and trust that He knows what's best. Worry thrives in the absence of trust. When we try to hold on to every detail, every outcome, every timeline, we leave no room for the peace of God to enter. But when we surrender our lives, our plans, our fears, and even our unanswered prayers, we make space for God's perfect will to unfold. Surrender means saying, "Lord, I don't need to know the why or the how. I just need to know you." And when you know Him, when you've tasted His goodness and seen His faithfulness, surrender stops being a struggle and starts becoming your strength. Complete surrender doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you are no longer walking through it alone. It means the burden is lifted, the pressure released, and the fear replaced by faith. God does not promise a life without storms, but He does promise to be your anchor in the middle of them. The more you trust Him, the less room there is for fear. The more you lean on Him, the less you feel the weight of the world pressing down. Freedom from worry is not found in having all the answers, but in knowing the one who does.